On this episode of the Soul Twin Stars podcast.
How do you know you're talking to an alien? I don't know I'm talking to an alien. I can't prove it.
It's hard to comprehend that everything that looks physical is actually vibration.
They can communicate with someone like me who's a medium. They can communicate through our electronic devices.
Even our fractal that belongs to the Oversoul is the same size as the universe.
Hi, I'm Lady Shadowe, a witch with much to share, stirring the cauldron with magical self-care.
Hi, I'm Peaceful Nik, a medium divine. I chat with the dead and interpret every sign.
We are Soul Twin Stars, best friends through it all.
From spells to healing, we're answering the call.
From moon cycles to menopause and making peace with the dead.
We aren't afraid to talk about what's rarely said.
So tune in each week to get raw, real, and wise.
Let's talk about a spiritual life with absolutely no disguise. Welcome to the Soul Twin Stars podcast, Uninhibited Spirituality. We'd like to first thank this week's episode sponsors, Beans and Buttercream Bakery. They ship the most delicious baked goods anywhere. Follow them on their Facebook page, Beans and Buttercream Bakery. Also, Abernathy Photography, serving Western Kentucky and beyond, specializing in digital photography, weddings, and so much more. They now also feature drone photography. You can book them at abernathyphotography.com. And lastly, if you find yourself in Westchester County, New York, just north of New York City, Fino Restaurant in Croton-on-Hudson, New York, serves the most delicious, authentic Italian food. That's Fino Restaurant, Fino. And now, back to our episode.
Welcome back to the Soul Twin Stars podcast. I am Peaceful Nik, the medium, joined by the amazing Lady Shadowe. Hello, Lady Shadowe.
Hello, Nik, and I'm joined by the Peaceful Nik of the most peacefuls of Niks and BFFs of the world. So I am always happy to be here with you again every single week. It's not just a podcast, everybody. It is a best friend accountability relationship where we get to stay in touch and constantly talk, because a podcast is a good excuse to stay close. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong. I absolutely agree. This is probably the most time we spend talking back and forth at once together, which is in itself a divine moment. We've both been burning the candle at all 12 ends this week.
Girl, I know I have more than 2 ends. I know you have more than 2 ends. So yes, I would say that is accurate.
Remember that old Saturday Night Live skit, I have 5 jobs? They used to say, I have 5 jobs. That's how I feel this week. And I know you feel the same way. So if everyone is feeling stressed, just, we're going to talk about science, mediumship, and aliens tonight. And this is just going to be interesting and entertaining. And Lady Shadowe has some burning questions she's going to ask me, and I can't wait. But I want to talk about your divine moment this week, Lady Shadowe. What do you have on the list for divine moments?
Oh, it's so nice to be able to recall several moments in a week that are divine and not just something from a year ago or a month ago or way long ago before the last podcast was recorded. I had a big show this last weekend. We did a comedy called The Unreal Housewives. It was so much fun, and the audience had a great time. The actors did so perfectly, and that's one more show in the books. It was a brand new one that we have been marketing for the last 3 months, and so brought it to our community. They had a great time. It was just so many laughs. It rolled over. You will have to see one of these sometimes, because I know that you are like a huge fan of making fun of the housewives.
Absolutely. So
we did our job. And then I just finished last night my one act for this next theater festival that's coming up that I'm hosting on April 13th. This morning I put the last lines in, and all I have to do is polish tonight. So that is always divine when you complete art that feels really provocative and ready to go. I'm so excited for that. So it's been a very productive weekend. I got to see my horsey yesterday with my friends. And then look who's hanging out with us.
The star of the show, Bailey.
For those of you who are not on the video platform, my little doggy likes to hang out with us and listen in. and she's waiting for Daddy to come home. So, and you, what are your divine moments, darling?
So many divine moments. I have a new grandbaby actually due the day this podcast will be released. And I'm very excited for that. I have been to the pool the last 2 days where I live. I know some of you are buried in snow. It's been 90 degrees where I live the past couple of days. A little hot for me this early in the year, but I love the pool. I could stare at clouds literally all day forever for the rest of my life and be perfectly, or stars and clouds, perfectly happy. So I go sit at the pool, get a little sun, a little vitamin D, and just stare at the clouds and have good conversation with hubby and put my feet in the water because the water's not warm enough to jump all the way in yet for me, but it will be soon. And then today I did something I've been wanting to do for so long, and I don't know why. I just avoided it. Laziness, I guess. I bought some pots and soil and some seed, some wildflower seed,
Yay!
to attract, butterflies and good happy bugs. And so I put those in the pots today. So hopefully they'll start germinating soon. And I am just so excited because I have a bright, sunny back porch. It's like a little small patio, about 6 by 6 or so. And I'm going to put them out there. And I am so happy. That was like, made me that was divine.
Beautiful. That's how I feel. I've only picked up gardening in the last couple of years because we've lived in a place where we can garden and have the room to garden. And same thing, I look forward to every April dropping in all kinds of stuff, and within a couple of months there's unlimited cucumbers. Usually do the best here, believe it or not. Giant cucumber, squash. Our herb garden likes to flourish, so I definitely hear you on watching things grow. And it's really fun when you are the one that did it instead of just going to the store and picking it out. Right. It's so much fun to watch the fruits of your labor, if you will, but that is amazing. And here it is about 65 degrees today, but there's still a bunch of snow on the ground. But our goal is to, we're supposed to fill our pool April 1st, trying to hold to that. They're saying we might get some crazy snow in like 7 days, one more blast, but I think the ground is already warming up. It might be too warm for that, but enjoy that pool for me because I cannot wait to get into mine. I am jonesing hard for the pool.
Oh, the pool is my happy place. I mean, literally.
I agree. For us too.
When we moved here, every place we've moved in the last several years, we've made sure we have to have a pool. My husband and I are both water babies. We have to have water, period.
Yep.
Period. It's a must for us. So it's a community pool. It's not in our backyard, so we don't have that upkeep. So that's good. But yeah, glorious. The pool is the best.
Yeah.
And speaking of H2O. I'm just moving it into science. See how I did that?
That's what
segue.
Yes.
Most of you know this, but for new viewers, we're getting a new bigger community every week. Every podcast, we build our community, and we're grateful for all of you who watch and subscribe and share our podcast. For those of you new to the podcast, I have a science background. I still am an adjunct professor of astronomy, and I became a medium 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago. And I also love aliens. So tonight we're going to talk about bridging science, mediumship, and aliens tonight. So that's what we're going to do. Lady Shadowe, do you have any questions about that before we get into it?
Well, I do. I have a million questions because, like you, I am fascinated with other species. Even if they're mean, even if they're a faction like they say they are, that want different things from their purpose here, whether that is to study us or to play with us or to just mingle with us quietly. I'm fascinated. And I think any other beings that are not human, right, no matter what their purpose is, they're still made of frequency.
Yes.
And organic material. And some of these beings probably are fully vibrational. They might not
Yes.
even, like, these shapeshifters and whatnot. Apparently they're so they're vibrating so fast and so high that they don't even physicalize fully all the time. So I am fascinated to hear if and how you're communicating with these other beings, and if it's any different from a human being, because I know that you have communicated from another species back and forth. You picked up the phone, you called a few. I want to know what the long distance charges were.
Enormous. No, I was roaming. It was a roaming charge.
AT&T can't possibly put a price on that. But yeah, so tell us how you bridge the gap so casually by saying things like, yeah, mediumship and aliens, they just go together like ketchup and mustard.
Science, mediumship, and aliens all really do go together. And a lot of people think that science and spirituality are opposites, but actually they're the same. Physicists, I've said this many times, physicists are proving spirituality is real every day more and more. They don't realize, I think some of them know what they're doing, but some of them don't realize that the experiments they're running on consciousness, on telepathy. The CIA started remote viewing. Our US government CIA started that 70, 80 years ago.
Yeah.
For the benefit of our government to spy on other countries. So we've known about this in the modern era for decades. In the ancient era, spirituality, oracles, psychics, seers, all have been around for thousands and thousands of years. All ancient civilizations have people who have always been able to communicate with the other worlds. And I didn't expect that to happen to me. As I said, I work in science. I still work in science. But it did happen to me. And it was shocking. And now I'm just like, oh, this is natural. It goes together. It goes together.
And can you talk to us about CERN, the Hadron Collider, and DARPA, and what all of those kind of have to do with each other, which is, again, ways to manipulate energy, and what is it, particle collider, is it, that what they're doing with that and the experiments in Europe with this thing trying to bust into other dimensions and all of that. I'm sure that has a lot to do with what we can already do, vibrationally with communications, just brain to brain, right? But they're trying to do a physical connection. Is it not? Or kind of explain what that is for our audience, how CERN works.
So essentially, science lesson 101 for particles. So every atom in the universe is made up of particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons, for those who don't know. At the subatomic level, all of that is just vibrating energy. The particles end up just being a frequency of energy, which Lady Shadowe just so happened to mention earlier in the episode, that some beings may just be vibrating frequencies. And that's what our particles are made of. Now, the nucleus of an atom is a protons and neutrons, and the electrons are very far away from the protons and neutrons. Even though they're tiny, there's almost entirely empty space in every atom in the universe. So
that includes those, by the way, we say this all the time, look around all the physical space that is in our backgrounds, a couch, a plant,
everything.
Or all of that is made up of atoms, which is 99% space. I know, everybody, it's hard to comprehend that everything that looks physical is actually vibration, but keep going.
So, and that is absolutely accurate. So to try to comprehend how much space is in an atom, every single atom in your body, in your couch, in the screen you're watching this on, imagine You blow an atom up to the size of a football stadium. Now, Lady Shadowe, she's not a sports fan, but I know she knows what a football stadium is.
Are you sure?
So put an orange on the 50-yard line of the football stadium, right in the middle. That's the nucleus of the atom. The nearest electron will be in the parking lot.
Amazing.
Everything between the middle at the 50-yard line and the parking lot is empty space. So almost everything around us is empty space. Not only that, we only know about what 4 or 5% of the universe is made of, and that is a scientific fact. Our universe is made up of about 95% dark matter and dark energy, and no one knows what it is.
Isn't that interesting?
So, for scientists to say, you can't have ESP or consciousness or telepathy or talk to aliens or whatever, they don't know what 95% of the universe is made of. So now that we know that atoms are almost all empty space, they put particles from the atoms in these colliders. And CERN, the Large Hadron Collider is like 17 miles long. It's a big circle, and they have all these giant magnets, and they wind them up, and they get the particles going real fast, and they crash into each other. And when they crash into each other, they try to spot all these other different kinds of particles inside the protons, neutrons, or electrons.
And how they change, if they take shape,
it leaves a signature. I'll show you on my paper here.
Yes.
So when they crash together, it leaves a signature of lines like that. That's what they see on their computer screen. And they go by these lines, and they try to figure out if they discovered a new part of a particle.
Okay.
And so that's the general science thing that they're doing. They're trying to find the innermost parts of atoms. Now, they found a lot of stuff, but it's been a really long time since they found anything.
Interesting. Or supposedly what they tell us that they found.
Correct.
Unfortunately, pieces of our governments around the world like to keep secrets from us. So, there's that.
That happens? It's news to me. So that's what's happening according to the mainstream science.
So, Nik, tell us about when they're playing with particles and observing the sky and observing the ground and observing the oceans and other entry-exit points that may be around the world where aliens could or could not be entering, exiting, using ley lines to get in and out easier, using magnetic zones around the earth, which we know exist because pyramids are built in these ley lines to line up with each other. So tell us the intention of some of these aliens. Are they trying to communicate not just with us through our equipment, but through people like you?
I will say this. Any consciousness, whether it's human, alien, dog, horse, dolphin, doesn't matter, can communicate with us in multiple ways. They can communicate with someone like me who's a medium. They can communicate through our electronic devices. I have a client who I mentor through her spiritual journey, and she swears that her algorithms read her mind. And I've got to say, I feel the same way because there are things that I never have searched. And then I'm thinking about it. I think about it,
and it's true. It's almost like it reads your thoughts and it knows what to show you. I 100% agree with you on that. And
it can be something random. Like one day I'm thinking about a pineapple, and I've never Googled pineapple in my life, and I'll turn on my social media and there's a pineapple, and I'm like, how did they know what was in my brain? So I think that our the energy of our consciousness is very easy to go through electronic devices.
Yep.
So any consciousness in the universe can go and interact through our electronic devices. We human beings are electrical beings. That's why we can be electrocuted. Our body is a 72% salt water, period, dot. Absolutely scientific fact. What's a great conductor of electricity? Salt water.
Yep.
What is your brain and neurological system? An electrical brain and neurological system. It's electrical. You have electrical circuits in your brain.
When
Neurons that fire together, wire together.
Amen.
That's
we talked about that last
electrical.
week. Yes. And when I ghost hunt, it is the same phenomena that I also witness. When we are near water or if it's raining, same thing. We feel like things can come through easier into our electronic devices.
Correct.
Thing. So since the advent of all of these, little digital recorders, cell phones, back in the day when you did a paranormal investigation, you had to have an old fashioned tape recorder.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that is still electric and magnetic and will still record. And many people have gotten old school sounds on tape as well. Obviously, you create and record things on a tape, just like whether it's coming from another consciousness or if it's in a music studio. But imprinting on these new digital products that have, exploded in the last 20 years, it makes it so much easier now for not only the consciousness to be attracted to the device, but it can happen more frequently because there's just ease of use, ease of availability. And if you're paying attention, all these things could technically increase for you, even if you're not looking to connect. I used to get these weird calls. Oh, you know what? I might even be able to play it. I would call somebody and we'd call it the alien voices. And we wouldn't actually hear a person on the other end. Instead, there would be this interference that would come in. And it would sound like other beings kind of talking and weird clickings and weird sounds. And the pattern of the speech was not like you and I talking through static where you would hear a pause and an inflection and a switch in tone. No. These were like these consistent, bizarre tones that were coming through our phones. And we used to get, it's funny because I haven't gotten these calls in a long time, or we'd make a call. And then when somebody would answer, you would hear these strange noises. And one time we made a call to somebody and we're like, oh, the aliens are back. And we just listen in. We had like 15 minutes of recordings.
Wow.
This strange. So we took the other phone out and we started recording what was playing as a quote phone call, waiting to connect to a person. Instead, we got this weird interference. This is a 10-minute call, everybody, and of aliens. If you are what I call aliens, you got to listen to this. Hold on one second. I almost heard the word help in there. How weird is this? That's, oh my God, I'm getting chills just hearing that again, because having not heard that for a while, this was recorded May 28th, 2017. And we used to get these all the time, but that was the longest one we'd ever gotten by far. But if going back and listening to that now, I'm like hearing little words and you're hearing voice. I mean, did you hear the breathing, like the sighing and the, anyway, I don't know how they come through when you communicate with these things, but this is the kind of paranormal shit that I attract randomly. And whether you call that a ghost or whether you call that a spirit or an alien, I mean, crazy, right? Have you ever gotten anything like that before?
No.
Oh, you have never heard that before?
I've never heard that before.
Some people, like my sister, we used to be on the phone a lot, and she used to say things like, oh yeah, the aliens are coming in again. I can hear, because sometimes if you're on the phone back in the day with another person and you would just be speaking and then all of a sudden the interference like that would come in, maybe just for like 30 seconds. But a couple of times my sister would hear the same thing I was hearing. So she would hear it and then it would either go away or it would get quieter and we'd talk over it and we'd say, okay, let me just call you back. It's some kind of weird interference, but we'd call it the aliens. But so crazy, right?
Wow. That is insane. Like,
yeah, I'm so glad I was able to pull that up so quickly on my phone because I remember I saved that because it's so creepy. And for that to go on for 10 minutes in a repeating pattern of breathing and weird whispers and like,
yeah,
y'all just heard it.
Yeah, it could be, golly, I got to use my science brain and my paranormal brain at the same time. But now that all these files have come out, I question reality even more. I was telling someone yesterday, I'm like, I used to really sometimes think these conspiracy theories about this or that were real. And then I became more, sciencey and got my degrees. And then I'm like, yeah, there's no way that's real. And now I'm like, my whole world is turned upside down again. Like anything is real.
I gotta say how proud I am of you for being open to, it's not just, people think it's just about sex trafficking, right? But it's so more, right? It goes so deep. I told you there's a whole thing the other day that somebody exposed in an email about cloning facilities, and they are real, and it is happening in baby farms under the ground. And it goes so much further than we all ever thought because our tech is way ahead of what they've shown us, right? So you're absolutely right to question everything.
Now I want to go back to clones. Okay. When I lived on 7th Avenue in San Francisco, and I know we talk about it a lot, but it's a big part of our lives. So I saw, I think I may have talked about this before on the podcast, but I saw an ad in the paper, like a physical newspaper, for a talk about aliens and science. And I'm like, on Haight Street, I'm like, sign me up. In my independentness, I went over there by myself at night, which I used to go around the city all the time at night. That's what we did. It was not scary. We grew up there. That's how it was. And I go to this talk, and it was by a man who is a representative of someone called Rael, Rael. You can Google this. And it was kind of like an alien religion, saying aliens hybridize with humans and blah, blah, blah. And the Bible talks about it. And that's when I started reading the Bible, by the way. For those of you Bible beaters who say, you need to read the Bible. Trust me, I read it.
And there's done that.
Fine-tooth comb.
That's right.
There's a lot of weird stuff in there, including the pillar of light by night and the pillar of cloud by day. And then people are being ascended up and down and like, sounds like an alien to me. But anyway, so I go to this talk and I'm like, wow, this is like super fascinating. And then a couple years later, maybe 10 years, I can't remember. There was, if you look up Rael in cloning, there's this lady, and I can't remember her name, some lady, who was working on the first human clone. And they actually set up a press conference to announce and present the first human clone. This was in the early 2000s. And the lady got up to the microphone. She was getting ready to do the presentation, and they cut it. I swear to God, I watched because I was like, this is amazing, because I have a biology bachelor's degree. So cloning, we've cloned animals for a long time. You can clone your dog. You can clone your cat. We know we can clone things.
Yep.
But it's unethical to clone humans.
Hold on. So this was a live talk that you went to?
She came up. No, I watched it on TV.
Oh, you watched it on TV. Okay.
The first talk was live on Haight Street. So people were just kind of walking around for a couple minutes, talking off mic, right? The lady came up to the mic. This was on television. And she was going to do the presentation. And then she backed up, and they were like walking around. And then they're like, okay, we're not going to do it, basically. And then that was it.
Yeah. So imagine at that point, they announce something that they've already done. But I'm telling you, this was probably going on way before that.
They have a website where they sell all the human cloning equipment and you can buy it.
Right now?
That's been up for 20 years or more.
Wow. And how much is a cloning kit, Nicole?
It's all different kinds of equipment. Like, so you have to like extract eggs. You have to have an empty egg from a woman.
Of course.
So you get an egg from a woman, you suck out all of her DNA, and then you inject the DNA of whoever you're creating. If they want to make a clone of me, they would take a skin cell of mine and throw my DNA in there, essentially. And then you can put it in a person and grow a person. It's like in vitro fertilization. You put it in a petri dish and you stick it in somebody and they grow it.
And you probably don't even need a person. Honestly, the technology they probably have birthing, like, AI birthing wombs, or
they're growing animals in those. They've been growing animals in those for at least a decade or more. So they can grow humans in them.
Exactly.
Now, if you were cloning a human that you wanted to be part of society, which we won't go to why they're cloning these babies. That's another story. But if you wanted a clone of yourself to raise, you would want it to be in a person who's a nice, kind, loving person, because that connection is very vital to the development of the fetus. Fetuses can hear, they can feel, that they're living once they start hit a certain point. So you want that emotional connection. But anyway, the lady who's in charge of the company called Clone Aid, you can go look this up yourself. Lady Shadowe has it there.
Right there, everybody.
Brigitte Beaucillier, and she was making the announcement, as I said, and then stopped and the baby's name was Eve, because they were afraid of, media coverage and putting the baby in danger, is what they said. So look up, if you're curious about this, Raelianism and Clone Aid, CLONAID, and they have a whole website. I'm not recommending anybody clone anybody. I'm just telling you that this story goes way back.
Yeah. So imagine what they've done with their tech since then, right?
Correct.
And of course, you have to assume that whatever tech like this that the average person gets is 20 years ahead of what we're actually receiving.
Absolutely.
Not more, if not more.
If not more. Some people say 50 or 100.
I would not doubt that at all. So Nik, back to, now that we've established the fact that these frequencies exist, that you can talk to not just human conscience, but you were on the phone in spirit with me through a video chat, and my dog came in, my ghost dog, my ghost paws.
Right. That's right.
Recorded. We heard that already. Well, we haven't played it for the audience, but we have, you and I, we knew what was going on there. And It's funny because you were connected with that because of your powerful draw, your powerful energy that is in my life, even if we're not on the phone or talking. So talk to us about your experience or experiences with actually communicating with other life forms, because I know you have a couple of examples, and talk to us about how that's possible, what happened, and what it was you were talking to.
So I love this, and I feel like this has opened up an entire new realm for me. And it's been scary for me because of my professional career. I don't want to be, lose my job because I'm talking to aliens. So I've been reluctant for a really long time to talk about it or to even try to do it. And someone asked me on their podcast a few weeks ago and asked me to connect with an alien. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then I have a trusted advisor who said, it's time. It's time. And I hear there's another famous medium who's very like left brain like me, and she talks about encountering other beings that aren't human. And I'm like, okay, well, if she can do it, I can do it. So I don't feel so crazy now.
We'll get a 2-for-1, you know?
So I decided I'm not going to prepare ahead of time. I'm not going to go into like a meditation or watch a bunch of different stuff, because I could easily go online and plagiarize a bunch of BS from other podcasts and weirdos and, people who talk to aliens and spirits and the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. I'm just going to go in natural, just like I would in a mediumship reading, and I'm going to see what happens. And I did it, and it was not the same as a mediumship reading. As far as I couldn't see the being, I could only hear and get information claircognizantly, where the information was just put in my head, and I could see things, but not the being.
Oh, so interesting. So tell us what happened.
So I don't remember every detail, because in all of my readings, I have a lot of amnesia, because I'm not really me. I'm me, and I'm aware that I'm still me, and I'm aware I'm in my office, but my mind is elsewhere, I guess is the best way to explain it. And so I remember a couple of striking things. One was the message for humanity, because the host asked me for that. And it was, our ego is killing us and will be the death of us.
Absolutely.
And if we don't change that, we are all going to die. And it could be next week. I mean, the way the world's going, right? Like, we could all be incinerated. And, it's up to us to decide. Only we can decide what our future is. And whether that means marching more in the streets and taking action that way, or just rolling over and letting it happen.
Or if it means to control where your dollar goes. I mean, there have been these calls for boycotts, right? Where don't buy gas for 2 days, or don't.
Well, I have an electric car, so I haven't bought gas in like 8 years. So.
You are lucky.
I heard the gas prices are going way up, but I don't
walk into a Walmart for a week. That'll really piss the Walmart family off. So you're listening to this. You're not going to call in anything or research anything. You're just going to go off the cuff.
Yep.
So you're on a podcast, right? You were on Jeff Mara.
Yeah.
And he said, let's do this. And you just said, okay, let's see what we get.
Yep. That's exactly what happened.
What was the next thing past the ego?
So the ego, will be the death of us if we don't get our shit together. Yeah. And the other thing, there was a lot of, I only, in my mediumship and any communication with spirit that I have, I only attract positive. I'm never going to attract an evil spirit, an evil soul, an evil entity. It's not going to happen. I won't allow it. I've got a block up to it. It's not welcome here. I don't want that energy. I can't have that energy. So a lot of the things that I was channeling, and I've only watched it back once, a lot of the things I was channeling aren't that far from things I would believe anyway. And this one thing at the end really took me by surprise. And I do remember this vividly. The entity, being, consciousness, said, the host asked me, what, do you travel from other galaxies or something to that? How do you travel across the universe? Something like that. And they said they send their consciousness ahead.
Ah, interesting.
It was very interesting and surprised me, because I had never
get a snapshot of everything that's going on.
Yeah, I had never thought of that. We send our consciousness, and then he said, well, how do you move around after that? And then they said we create it with our mind. So if they needed a vehicle or whatever, they create it with our mind. And it's interesting because earlier in the show, You said some beings are just frequency.
Yep.
So how cool is that?
And
so they send their frequency ahead.
this is what we do in the physical world here, though. We think about creating something, and it may take us a little longer to do it because we're in a physical, slower vibrating world, right? But we can create cars, and we've created planes, and we've created transportation systems just the same with our minds too. It's just that we've had to apply what's in our minds into a slower vibrating group of atoms to make a physical thing, right? And so I guess these beings are doing the same thing, but because they're vibrating so fast and high, they don't need to wait for the physical manifestation of it. They know how to put atoms together, apparently, right, in a more efficient and expedited way so that they can create whatever vehicle or means they need to travel light years away. Is that what I'm hearing?
They don't even need the vehicle. They can create it. So if anybody watched the movie Phenomenon, years ago with John Travolta, and he had that, and the whole time I thought it was a UFO, and I was so sad, and I cried so hard at the end when he actually died. Sorry, spoiler alert. It's been 20 years. And he's getting investigated, and he's telling the guy investigating him that there's an agreement between him and the pen. Right?
That's right.
His agreement. And I always think of that when I'm doing this work. It's an agreement. We are made of energy, the same energy that this is made of.
That's
the
right.
Same energy that a spaceship is made of, the same energy that the sun is made of. We're all made of the same stuff. And we can, you've heard of telekinesis, everybody, where you move things with your mind because it's an agreement. Right now, I'm moving this with my hand, obviously, but we can learn to move things telekinetically because our mind and our soul and our energy and frequency can interact with this. Like when I had the pennies on the wall a few weeks ago, I was sticking pennies to the wall because I consciously made an agreement for this penny to stick to the wall. And by the way, my sister still is doing it every day.
Wow.
And so if that is the case, if we can make an agreement with other things, with our spiritual mind, our soul, our subconscious mind, whatever people want to call it, we are literally limitless in what we can do.
Yeah, especially when you connect with your higher consciousness, which is what we say all the time, right? To manifest quicker, to get to love faster, to get bypassing the ego when we're trying to work through something that doesn't need the ego's filter. And we can go straight to the love part. Imagine how much more quickly we can heal our bodies, heal our minds, heal our stress, because we're bypassing those ridiculous filters, the trauma filters and the looping, right? You're just going straight to source. And that's where we are trying to empower our audience to understand that if you go back to the idea that everything is frequency like this, like you were exactly saying, that suddenly it kind of changes everything. It's a game changer, because letting a bunch of atoms that are physical, like this remote control, run you, when you have power over it, you decide if it gets picked up or put down, right?
Yeah.
So that's the most simple empowerment you can start with in order to practice kind of receiving and embodying the idea that we are frequency instead of just a physical being. And then if you can combine the two into channeling the electricity and the orgasmic power within us, and electrically charging your body to vibrate higher, you can literally change your health. We know this already.
Yes.
And so if you can change your own body and what's going on inside electrically and energetically, how that can affect the outside, because another thing that people don't know is that your heart emits energy up to 50 feet outside. Isn't that
Yep.
crazy? That's how
It
people
makes sense because when you walk into a room with a negative Nelly,
Yep.
you can feel that energy. Or you walk into a room with a positive Polly, you can feel that energy.
Yep.
You can also feel it when somebody's trying to drain your energy.
Yes, absolutely.
Like that, especially people like us who are very empathic and we can feel energy of others. Don't even come near me if you've got negative energy. I don't want to be around it. I don't want to be in the room with it. I don't want to be in the house or the store or nowhere. Just stay away.
Yeah.
I no. Even with my boundaries up, no, just go over there. I don't want to be around it.
Right. But there's also a responsibility, like for me, when I feel like I can actually handle a situation and help it and heal it. Like if I walk into a room and I sense, because I talk to a lot of people all
That right. That is not what I'm
This
yeah,
is
I'm not
not-
referring to
yeah.
that when I say that. Absolutely. I'm not
Yeah. Because I
that
know how to diffuse somebody's energy
Right.
to make them feel better. And I can kind of read whether or not I have any influence over that or not. And that's another thing. It's like going into any situation in life, it's about picking your battles, right? So
Right.
I'll know, okay, this person just needs like a hug, or they need that
Right.
hug energy, or they
Of
need
course.
kindness right now.
I'm talking about energy vampires.
Oh, absolutely.
Not somebody who just needs a hug. So yes, thank you very much for that clarification because I didn't want people to think, oh, she's a bitch, you know.
Yeah. No, of course.
I do want to say one more thing that because we've got a few more minutes here. The question I get a lot from people about this subject with the aliens and the communication and everything is, how do you know you're talking to an alien? I don't know I'm talking to an alien. I can't prove it. I cannot prove it. Scientifically, I must concede that I cannot prove I'm talking to an alien. However, we are, the consciousness of human beings, our souls are non-local souls that don't reside in our bodies for eternity. They go out of our bodies and back to spirit. All the souls in the universe are all connected together. It's not like there's a consciousness for Earth and a consciousness for the Alpha Centauri system and a consciousness for the Andromeda galaxy. All of us are connected. We have all lived lives on other planets. That's for sure, right? We have all had previous lives here. Why wouldn't we have previous lives on planets or future lives on planets in other solar systems, galaxies, across the universe, 1 billion years ago, 1 billion years from now? If you understand the breadth and depth of the universe, the size, the amount of planets and galaxies and the age, and how teeny tiny, itty bitty and short our lives are, and you would understand more that our souls have got to have been recycled elsewhere. The earth is little, it's tiny compared to the other things in the universe. We're a speck, a literal speck in the universe. If you zoom out from our galaxy and look at a picture of it, our sun, which is 1,000,000 times bigger than our sun is indecipherable on a picture of our galaxy.
Yeah.
So if our sun, which is 1,000,000 times bigger than us, is indecipherable, there's no way you would even be able to see the earth. The only way to find aliens and other beings and souls is through consciousness and connection.
Right. And here is where I say that our consciousness, because like you say, there's an oversoul, which is our higher selves outside of, well, I consider this like a simulation matrix planet. But let's say we're reaching out and what we connect with our higher soul, oversoul, our peace. I think that even our fractal that belongs to the oversoul is the same size as the universe energetically, because we are all one.
Yeah.
It's no longer about measuring matter anymore. It's about we're all pieces of consciousness, and a piece of consciousness can go, and let's say when you and I graduate from this shithole, like, and we don't want to come back here again to the earth, right? Because I know I'm done here. I'd like to go somewhere else and create a world where there is peace and flourishing and thoughtfulness and empathy, and there's still free will, but you can't commit it against somebody else, kind of thing, because that would just be really nice.
There are planets. There are ways to choose that. Yeah,
exactly. And even if you want to create it, I believe that it's not one creator creating everything out there. I think we're all kind of creating our experience wherever it is.
We're co-creating.
Yeah. So imagine the fact that if you can create your life in this little place as a speck, then I think in the next 5D, 6D world, 7D, that you could create a whole world like you do in a video game.
Right.
Outside of this. And so you're no longer a little speck, measurable or not, against a giant physical universe. You are now in a big frequency of consciousness, knowing itself and wanting to create. Like I put things on a stage, I get to just do it bigger and better and with more love and in a higher frequency, with ease of not having a lot of physical barriers to it, right? So in essence, the universe may be huge and we're little, the way our atoms are organized right now, sitting here in front of a computer talking to you guys. But when we pass on to the next realm and graduate, and we want to get out and go further past the boundaries of the earth plane and not have to necessarily come back here, then we expand as much as the consciousness does. So we are part of that expansion. We're no longer small like that, so we're no longer measurably tiny. We're actually bigger. And if we continue to, not through the ego sense, but if we continue to believe that our frequency can expand larger and larger than we could ever imagine, even while we're here, like you said, that's just bypassing the egos and the filters and the limitations and the limiting beliefs. And then we can really expand our life experience here too.
Mm-hmm. I want to say, you made me think of something. Okay. So I want to expand on what Lady Shadow's saying. I'm going to try to make it super simple for people who don't understand multidimensional physics. Okay.
Yeah, we should probably go into what the 60 and the 70 is.
So if you've ever read the book Flat Stanley, so back in the day, they would give kids this little flat piece of paper with a little person on it called Flat Stanley, because there's a book about Flat Stanley. He lives in a 2-dimensional world, right? Just length and width. So I've got this beautiful Psychic Creations tarot card created by Lady Shadowe. And this is the 2-dimensional world, right? So Flat Stanley, we can only go forward and backward and diagonal. We can't go up or down, right? And so if we imagine how limited we think we are, imagine that's here. We're in the 2-dimensional world in this scenario. Now, if you see this picture of this person on this card, she just looks flat, but she actually can come out into the 3-dimensional world, height, width, length, right? Not just length and width. Now she has height. She has another dimension. Now expand that to 4 dimensions.
Yep.
So now she's got length, width, height. And now you have to imagine another addition to that. And then another and another. And there could be 12, 15, 20, 100 dimensions. Look up the tesseract.
Yeah.
I mean, this could get really crazy. So we limit our limiting beliefs, as you mentioned, are what keep us small. But in reality, we as a whole are bigger than all of this. We're bigger than this planet, this galaxy, everything. Our consciousness is limitless. We can accomplish anything.
Yes.
And it only takes, I want to say 3 or 4% of the people to all start
catching on to the secret.
Catching on to this and doing this consciously in order to manifest a better world.
And everybody, if there's anything you hear over and over that we talk about, on this podcast, which is so important, is that the system is built so that you don't think about these things and that you can't and won't or forget to empower yourself in this way. And the whole point of waking up is not literally just going, oh, I know what the Epstein files are now, so I'm good, I'm awake. No, it's to literally awaken your big shift in you. Like when you go to the chiropractor, we use this one all the time, and he just moves a couple of things a few millimeters over to straighten out that alignment so that you can go out with your day painlessly and walk normal and stand up straight. It's a very similar thing. It's a small little shift with you opening your mind, your heart, and bypassing those ego filters and those trauma loops and that unprocessed gunk that they want you to be sitting in all the time, which is the fear. And going out of that every little time that you can, or at least catching it before it snowballs. Even if you're catching yourself in a loop and then you stop it before maybe a couple of times it's rotating around, then that is still growth. That is enormous growth. And it those little shifts and stopping that momentum into the fear quicker and easier is what gives everyone a more satisfying and copable life.
Right. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. We are much more powerful than we think, but then we have been programmed to believe.
Yep.
We've been programmed by society, religion, our families. Lady Shadowe and I have talked about that a million times on here.
Yeah.
People tell us what they think we should believe about ourselves. And you don't have to believe anything anyone says about you. Yep. We are powerful as a collective. They didn't burn witches. They burned women who were healers.
That's right.
And anybody that they didn't like, that had any kind of power that the patriarchy wasn't happy with,
yep,
they burned.
And
anybody that could heal somebody with an herb, but they wanted to give them who knows what, now it's pharmaceuticals, that was witchy stuff.
And let me tell you all, Pompeii, I learned a lot about Pompeii, being at actual Pompeii, and that it was such a cool city, artists and open thinkers. And of course, ancient Rome didn't want that. They wanted to reel the people in that were just a little too expressive and enjoying their pleasure and being creative and living a more rich and happy, healthy life, rather than being caged in fear. And so that's where a lot of the religion kind of kicked in around that time, is, saying, hey, we gotta control these people because they're having a little too much fun. They're tapping into way too much of their own personal power. And how do we dial that back a bit, man? Oh, let's slap some guilt religion on people. And I'm proud to say that I am a witch, but I am the old school witch that would now be considered, like you said, would be like a holistic healer, someone who's in touch with their body, their earth, and who wants to give back and who works and operates only in love. And it's just interesting that over the last 600 years that they want to slap this label that if you're a witch, you're bad. Automatically.
Because witches are women. Witches are women.
Yeah.
You never hear the term warlock.
No.
The only time I've ever heard that is on Bewitched.
Right.
And you've said it a couple of times to me. I've never heard it anywhere else in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty well read.
Version, but they don't get demonized. Males rarely are demonized for anything.
Who's in jail for the Epstein files? A woman.
Exactly.
I think we could continue talking about this for a million hours. Join us on Magical Mondays. We're not sure what day it's going to be on coming up the next few weeks because I got some other obligations, but it will be out there. You'll see it on our socials. Thank you, Lady Shadowe. This was amazing and went into areas I was not expecting. I knew that you would ask me all the right questions at just the right time. As always, I love you. Love to everyone. Always vibrate the highest energy you can.
Love you guys. See you next week.
Thank you so much for joining us this episode for the Soul Twin Stars podcast. Find us on our podcast Facebook page for Magical Mondays live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern where we will help you magically slay your weekdays, and for awesome giveaways. For more information about what other spiritual things Nik and I do and offer, visit peacefulnikthemedium.com. That's Nik with just a K. Or to connect with me, Lady Shadowe, soulsandspirits.com is the place to go. If you want to be a guest on one of our shows, we would absolutely love that. Contact us at soultwinstars@gmail.com. See you next Friday on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Facebook, and on YouTube. Sending you all so many blessings. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, know that you are all cherished.